Hello again, everyone. This is my Module 8 presentation, Leading with a Moral Compass. The first article, what is a moral compass and why do we need one? There were many important things in this article that I found interesting, but the main takeaway was the 5 pointers, steps, whatever you want to call them, they give us to start building our moral compass and what it does for us. The first was ground your identity. Find your core values. These will help guide you during challenging ethical situations. Protect the greater good by committing to these core values. The greater good becomes the prominent solution. The more you use it, the easier it becomes. It also increases your self-confidence. As your core values begin to strengthen, so does your self-confidence, which makes it easier to be steered toward the right and away from the wrong. It also helps you to become a good role model. When you demonstrate moral behavior, it begins to instill the same in others, which leads to number 5, fostering healthy relationships. As more and more people begin using their moral compass, the healthier relationships and work environment is. The first video, Moral Compass, just kind of gives an overview of what a moral compass is. It stated that our moral compass is an internal tool that guides us right. Our moral compass triggers an integrity reflex that subconsciously guides us between right and wrong. Furthermore, it commits us to the best possible solution. In leadership roles, as we all know, your life is no longer yours. There's very little privacy as the spotlight is on you. Everyone moral compass is essential. The main quote I enjoyed from this video was, if you're caught out in unfamiliar wilderness without a compass, you are dead. The same could be applied with a moral compass. The next video, having a moral compass, kind of breaks it down a little bit more. The main pointers from this one for me were: possessing a strong moral compass assists individuals with being honest with themselves and others. I've always found that if you're not honest with yourself first, it's going to be pretty difficult to be honest with others. Individuals with a moral compass tend to always put others before themselves when making critical decisions. I found this through all the articles in this module seems to be one of the most important areas. The next was, a person more likely to treat everyone more fairly. They also respect each person's individual dignity. What is acceptable and what is not acceptable in your position? You need to find these out ASAP, lay them out, make sure the borderlines are very clear. And last, you need to know your values before making critical decisions. That should be a no-brainer. The next article, Set Your Moral Compass True North, had a lot of important information. Some of the more interesting areas that I found in this article were that when you set your moral compass to true north, you will be on the right path to ethical decision making. In order for a moral compass to be effective, the individual must have their heart in the right place to begin with. There's a lot of people that have moral compasses that may not actually be moral. It may be moral to them, but because their heart isn't in the right place, neither is their moral compass. I found that more now than ever, especially with the youth of today, in my experiences, people think of themselves first before considering the needs of others. There are several guides and benefits that an effective moral compass offers. like it guides our inner sense of right and wrong. It essentially guides our actions. It helps us to consider the needs of others before acting. Helps us to strive to improve the lives of others. It also helps us to embrace treating others as equals. And last, it helps us to live a life full of integrity. Along with this, there are many approaches we can take to ensure our moral compass is pointed in the right direction. Then they give a few examples, such as the rights theory, which basically gives us the means to respect the rights of others. The benefits versus harms is the one that I find myself using the most, where you consider all the benefits and harms each solution may bring with each stakeholder in mind. Then you choose the one that is most beneficial. You outweigh them against each other and find the one that contains the greater good. And last, are our actions honest, empathetic, respectful, and responsible? If our actions are in the right direction, our moral compass is as well. This article had a lot in it. This article questions today's morale and points out that most moral compasses today are actually pointing south, and I could not agree more. Today's society has a moral compass that is pointing in the opposite direction of acceptable moral and ethical standards. Actions of current public figures are believed to be above the law of society and immune to prosecution. I also found interesting and true that many politicians and religious leaders are setting examples that raise serious questions about right and wrong. This article also points out that this has always been the norm. Celebrities and public figures have always been perceived this way throughout history. But now there is more information readily available through today's technology, so it seems like it is worse now. I don't agree with that. I do to some extent, but I think it is worse today than it ever has been. But my main struggle with agreeing with this is the fact that there is more exposure today creates much more ignorance in society, especially in children who see these actions and beliefs and perceive them to be normal. I see these every day in both of my schools. These kids do not have good role models these days. Some of them that they look up to and idolize are like Tekashi 6ix9ine. That is not a person that your child should be idolizing. It's going downhill fast. I'm pretty worried about it. Last on this article, I've agreed with this for many years. One of my main struggles relating to this issue is professional athletes. The things they get away with, that normal get away with, their salary, it does not need to be that high. I've always thought that professional athletes and first responders should swap their salaries. That's how it should be. People that put their life on the lines every day than what professional athletes get paid. The next article or video was Concepts Unwrapped, Moral Emotions. They kind of break down different types of emotions. The first, self-conscious emotions. These obviously come from yourself, such as guilt, shame, embarrassment. Most citizens possess these. Next was condemning emotions. These emotions come from others, as contempt, anger, and disgust. Most moral people are affected by these. If a person does not have good morals, they probably are not affected by them. Last is praising emotions, acting pro-socially. These come from others, such as gratitude and moral evaluation. People that see others acting generously often begin to act generously themselves. It can become contagious. Next was suffering emotions. This comes from both us and others, such as sympathy, compassion, empathy. I found that empathy is the most important moral emotion that this article points out. Provides an opportunity for the individual to take the person in challenging situations and could potentially change their behavior. Moral emotions are based on reason. We are essentially rationalizing a judgment or decision that our brain has already made subconsciously. 90% of all our brain's decisions are made automatically. You can rationalize something that is ethically wrong and choose that, but guilt will eventually take over in individuals that possess moral emotions. Moral emotions are tools, essentially tools, can help doing the right thing. They also steer us away from doing the wrong thing. This one had a lot of information in it. The two main takeaways I chose were every compass is different, comprised of a set of values that you have held in your heart probably most of your life. You were not born with these values, rather formed them over time through your own unique experiences. And the people that surround you, your parents, peers, teachers, and colleagues, etc., they form these values. These values could also be life experiences change. The other main takeaway for me from Woods' article is the 3 steps that he suggests to take when faced with difficult ethical decisions. The first is to analyze the consequences. Who will be helped? Who will be harmed? How significant are the benefits and harms? Lastly, weigh the benefits against the consequences and analyze the short-term, long-term effects. The second is to analyze the actions. Here you take in all considerations from multiple points of view. Do any of the actions cross a line? If there is a conflict of principles, does one outweigh the other? And finally, which option offers the best possible outcome for all parties involved? The third and final step he uses is to actually make the final decision. He says to take our analysis of the previous steps and sub-steps into account when making the final decision. Next article, The Search for a Moral Compass and a New Social Contract. This one was particularly interesting. I have a lot of feelings about it. But my main takeaway was the situation in South Africa is a great example for why we all need a moral compass and how to use it. The idea of citizen education is great and absolutely necessary. I always thought that our schools in the United States should begin exposing students to morality, core values, and ethics beginning as early as kindergarten. Obviously, our country is not as in bad a shape as South Africa, but I would say that we are on the same path. If we don't begin to make changes now, we will probably be in the same position as them. I believe this is the last article, Encountering the Stranger. My main takeaway from this article is that just having a moral compass is not enough. It is just a starting. In order for an ethical change to be made, we need to be instilling moral and ethical behaviors to others around us by modeling and demonstrating them ourselves. Empathy has always been a big portion of my moral compass, but I understand that empathy alone will not solve any problems. This article points out that in order for moral dilemmas to actually begin to be solved, we need to have joint action. To me, this is that if I have a moral compass and I know how to use it, that's awesome. But if I'm teaching others how to use theirs, we can begin to collaborate and look at issues from all sides together to find the best possible solution. In other words, the more people that know how to use their moral compass, the better a workplace will be, the work relationships will be, and the better the environment will be. Here's an example of my moral compass. The main areas on the north, east, south, and west, I hold a little higher than the others. Honesty, if you're morals and ethics usually comes easy to you. Integrity, empathy's always been a huge one with me. It guides a lot of my decisions, as well as fairness. I also added forgiveness, compassion, respect. I added because I always consider family. Family is above all else. And if anything could cause harm to any of my family, other core values could be overruled in my opinion. But obviously only when it's necessary. Here is my addendum. And here are my references. This was an enjoyable module, packed full of information. I've always known about my moral compass, but it was interesting to gather all this new knowledge on how to use it. I never thought about instilling it in other people and helping them. That's something I'm going to be doing. So this module was very beneficial for me. Thank you for watching.
Once again, I apologize. I don't know what was going on with Cast-O-Matic tonight. I recorded 3 times, 3 different videos. Tried every publish option they have multiple times, changed my network settings. I've used this program throughout this whole program and I've had no issues at all. And so with this last video, I didn't want to lose it. I didn't want to do it again. So this was my last resort. Hope you forgive me. Thanks for watching.